solidarity, Aluta, Victoria, He Soleto, He Africa. Thank you, comrades.
A round of applause for him. Before we sit down, we are still going to add some of the slogans that we have here. Great PENGASSAN, Great Nigeria, Aluta, Victoria, injury to one, enjoyment for one, women are great, our agenda, solidarity. Thank you, please. You may be comfortably seated. The President and our invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are moving straight to the next item on our agenda, and that is to recognize the dignitary that are here with us. First on my list is the GGM of NAPIMS that is here with us. Please help me welcome, I want to call him Comrade Bala M. Wunti. A round of applause for him, please. He's already seated. Thank you very much. You are welcome. I can see Evie Ifekwe, Executive General Manager, HR Total Energy. She's here. A round of applause for her, please. And all the past presidents that are here, you are welcome. Please, we will continue with the introduction as we progress. Mr. President, we are taking the next item, which is the welcome address by Comrade Festus Osifo, the President, PENGASSAN. Let him come and give us his welcome address. A round of applause for him as he comes up, please. Please, can we continue to clap for the President of PENGASSAN worldwide, the man who is behind the vision of us seated here. Please, you're not doing well to sit down and clap for him. He is the God-sent president. You are welcome.
Solidarity. Solidarity. Great PENGASSAN. Great PENGASSAN. Moving train. Please, let's be seated. The former presidents of PENGASSAN here in our midst, Comrade Elder Eziwaka, Comrade Elder Woduni, Comrade Elder Brown, Comrade Elder Babatunde, I welcome you all specially this morning. They're the former Secretary General of PENGASSAN here in our midst as well. I welcome you specially, Comrade Bayo Olowoshile. The GGM of NAPIMS, our very special friend and our very special guest, we welcome you this morning, Comrade Bala Wunti. Maybe later you will understand why I call him a comrade. The President of Association of Senior Civil Servants and the Deputy President 1 of Trade Union Congress of Nigeria. You are welcome, sir. Comrade Okom Etin, Tommy. The Secretary General of Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, Comrade Nuhu Toro Abba. You are welcome. The Executive General Manager of Human Resources in Total Energies. You are welcome, man. Comrade Evie Ifekwe. All the captains of industry that are here present, our respective managers, I could see our IRO manager from Total as well. I welcome all of us to this auspicious occasion. The members of NEC, the members of Central Working Committee of PENGASSAN, the General Secretary of PENGASSAN, the Deputy President of PENGASSAN and all trustees here present, I say good morning to us all. When we fixed this date that we are going to have this summit starting from today through to Wednesday, the date was really okay because all our invited guests, they planned to be here. They ought to be our keynote speakers, starting from the group CEO of NNPC to the regulators, both in the upstream and downstream, and all the captains of the agencies in our industry. They plan to be here, including the OPTS chairman. But as of Thursday, there was a retreat that was fixed for today. In fact, it's going on simultaneously as we speak in the villa right now. So when that retreat was fixed, we had no option. We've already sent out invite. So they sent their apologies that they are going to be here live with us tomorrow. So we are expecting all of them to grace our function tomorrow and deliver the keynote address. Then the former DPRO director, and who was one of the very top management in Shell, Mr. Austin Olorushola, an industry expert. We welcome you, sir. On behalf of the Central Working Committee, the National Executive Council, and the members of PENGASSAN across the world, I wish to welcome every one of us to this auspicious occasion. Great PENGASSAN! And I wish to also state that our gathering here today is for us to discuss some of the very important matters that are currently transcending the oil and gas industry. And before I proceed, I wish to pay special tribute and special thanks to all the past leaders of PENGASSAN, because they are the reason why we are here today. If they did not hold forth at the various times they had sway, this association would have been a going concern. PENGASSAN, over the years, in the last 44 years, has traveled and has passed through, different times, both the good and the bad. When the economy was good, when the economy was bad, and where we are today, PENGASSAN has been a voice that has been advocating on topical issues as it affects the oil and gas industry, and much more as it affects the entire nation. In the past few years, there have been issues of climate change. In the past few years, there have been advocacies and movement across the world on the issues that are bordering on cleaner energy. This conversation has led to several conferences across the world. This conversation has led to several discourses across the world. And in most of these discourses, they have been championing how do we move from fossil fuel into the greener energy? How do we reduce the footprint of carbon in the world? So this has been the conversation that has been taking place the world over. So this has led to lots of initiatives that has been put forth and lots of initiatives that have been put forward. It has made a lot of oil and gas companies to start transiting. For example, today, Savannah Petroleum has now moved to become Savannah Energy. Norway Start Oil has moved to become Equinor. Total E&P, Total Worldwide, has also transited to become Total Energy. The list could go on and on. Universities across the world are now changing from delivering courses, MSc programs, PhD programs on petroleum engineering to courses on energy. And leading the trail is Imperial College. So the list could go on and on. Today, we have had a lot of policy change of auto manufacturing companies that they have moved to say that, okay, today their internal combustion engine, that they are going to transit to start using electricity. Today, lots of government all over the world, they have made pronouncement that in 2030, in 2040, in 2050, how they are going to transit. And Nigeria government as well, few weeks ago, also released a policy document to this direction. Today, to attract investment to the oil and gas industry has been a challenge and has been a problem. So we must also call for a balance between energy security, investment, and also the transition. Because if you don't invest today in the oil and gas, what that means is that the supply is going to reduce. And when the supply reduces and the demand is still relatively constant, the price is going to go up. So these are the current challenges the world over is facing. But in all these conversations, ladies and gentlemen, the most important asset has been left aside. In all these conversations, the most important of them all, which is the human capital, there is no conversation as of today all over the world that has inculcated how the human capital, how the workforce is going to transit. It is based on this that we felt that as PENGASSAN, we are responsible staff association that should start thinking on how this is going to affect on our workforce, on how this is going to affect the most priceless asset in the oil and gas value chain, that is the human capital. So it's based on that we have put together this summit, not just on energy transition, but how will the energy transition now affect the workforce in the oil and gas industry? What are those skill sets that we have to start developing today? What are those skill sets, those trainings we ought to be undergoing today to still remain relevant in the future? So that is the essence why we are gathered here primarily. But in addition to that, within the next 3 days, we are going to extrail as well issues that are bordering on oil theft. Because oil theft is one of those issues that is currently plaguing the oil and gas industry today. We are going to do that evaluation. Then after that as well, today we are, on Wednesday, we are also going to have a discussion that is relating beyond the oil theft, but on casualization. So some experts on this will be talking to us. So within the next 3 days, we have assembled a crop of experts, we have assembled industry leaders, we have assembled gurus across the length and breadth of the industry that we'll be sharing and comparing notes with. Then also, we will look at the issues that are bordering on the role of women in the oil and gas industry. Because today, you could recall that women are currently occupying strategic position in the oil and gas industry. So how will they encourage others to grow the ladder and get to the zenith of their profession? So all these are going to be extrailed in the next 3 days. Then, PENGASSAN as well organized the National Essay Quiz Competition for people in secondary and both senior and junior secondary school. So for GSS1 and for SS1. And I'm glad to announce that we have men and women or students across the length and breadth of the country that we are going to unveil in the dinner section that is going to take place on Wednesday, where cash prizes will be awarded. So, comrades, I urge us to sit down, sit back, and enjoy every bit of this conversation, because we must we must open and we must do everything possible to extract the missing link. And what is that missing link? What is going to happen to you and I? How relevant am I still going to be in the next few years? How relevant am I still going to be? Will I still have that job that I have today? And again, too, my family. What is going to happen to them when I lose my job? Or what is going to happen to them as well? I mean, I have kids today. Should I still ask them to go and study petroleum engineering? Or should I ask them to major in energies, in renewable energies? So these are the discourse that we are going to have in the next few days. I thank us all as we sit back and enjoy this section. Solidarity.
Please, let's clap for the president of PENGASSAN. Thank you, Engineer Comrade Festus Osifo. Please, we clap until he gets to his seat. That is the worldwide president of PENGASSAN. Thank you very much. Please, you may be seated. Thank you. The President and invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, comrades, we are here today on the first ever, the maiden summit of PENGASSAN Energy and Labor with the theme, Energy Transition and its Effects on the Workforce in the Nigerian Oil and Gas Sector. We are moving straight to the discussion, the panelist session, and please, you will help me to welcome the people that are going to be up here to lead us in that discussion. First on my list is the GGM NAPIMS, who will be the lead panelist. Please help me welcome Comrade Bala M. Wunti, please, to come up. Can you clap for him, please? The Executive Secretary of PTDF, that is ably represented here by Mr. Jide Adeboliye. Please, Mr. Jide is the GM Strategic Planning and Documentation of PTDF. A round of applause for him as he comes up, please. Mr. Jide, please. Okay, it's still on the way. The MD and Chief Executive of Total Energies is ably represented here by Mrs. Ivy Ifekwe, who is the Executive GM, People and Talent Management. A round of applause. Please, let's clap until she comes up here. Thank you, you're welcome. To anchor this session as the moderator is the National Publicity Relations Officer of PENGASSAN, Comrade Anietie Udo. A round of applause for him, please, as he comes up to take this session. Please sit back, enjoy it. If you have any question, you can as well write it for me, and I will help forward it to answer. Thank you.
Great PENGASSAN, great Nigeria. Hello, welcome to the PENGASSAN Energy and Labor Summit. In this session, we shall discuss energy transition with special focus on positioning the Nigerian energy industry for the future. I am Anietie David Udo, a comrade, the National Public Relations Officer of PENGASSAN, and the Chairman, Central Planning Committee of this summit. I will be the moderator of this session. Now we'll talk about what is driving the global pursuit of energy transition. And to set the stage for discussion, I will hand my mic over to the lead panelists. Thank you.
Okay, so first let me thank Mr. President of PENGASSAN Worldwide and my colleagues, senior colleague, I see Austin Olorunshola, I see my partners on the industry, and obviously my brother Nuhu, as well as his own president, Eneto Okon. So thank you very much for the opportunity. When I was coming, I wasn't sure what I'm expected to do, so I put a couple of slides that I'm going to discuss. But because the moderator wanted us to sit and talk on an armchair, I'm equally comfortable with it. But if it is something that you like to get, I'll also give it the benefit of what I prepared. So it all depends on him. So okay. So if that's the case, let me just use this opportunity to. So I think the subject is about energy transition. And I would like to say that when we talk about energy transition, it means different things to different people. To some, it's achieving zero emission, what we call zero carbon. But a lot has gone so far, and people have realized that we can no longer talk about zero carbon. We have to talk about net carbon or net zero. But the key point is, what are we trying to address? Everybody in the world wants energy. Everyone wants energy. Nobody wants emission. I think that is settled. We do recognize the fact that, yes, indeed, fossil fuel come with a lot of emissions. But because we require energy, there's no way we can achieve that level of stability of energy security globally without the use of fossil fuel. And I think that is what brings about the nexus. How do we create a balance between energy security vis-a-vis energy transition? The advocate, whom we call the so-called angel investors, have made the world to look back against fossil fuel. Today, fossil fuel is being discriminated upon, no financing, what have you. But a couple of things that had happened over the last few months, particularly triggered by the Russia-Ukraine war, and several other things, has made the world to look. And I think, I don't know how do I control my slide, or someone just to go to the next slide. The key point is, we have seen the dirty coal coming back. Dirty coal is really coming back. And what does that mean? If you think oil is dirty, what about coal? And I think that is the key point. For me, if you look at this slide, you can see what is happening in Germany, in other Northern Europe and Southern Europe. The dirty coal is back. So if dirty coal is back, we know that oil has never exited. We know gas has never exited. And it therefore means that the world has realized that fossil fuel is still very, very relevant. I think if there's anything I would like to leave this house to know, is that if you are a PENGASSAN member, if you are an oil and gas member, be proud that indeed this energy source is still very relevant and is going to remain relevant for another centuries. If we go to the next slide, you see the impact of the so-called energy transition anyway. You see the confluence of the energy market, impact on investment, as well as finance. We all know at the base of this triangle, finance and investment, they go together. And the consequence is that you have to be able to produce energy that will meet the market demand. And in order to meet the market demand, you absolutely need to attract the right level of investment. What we have seen over the years is that the capital or finance has become very, very impatient. The nature of our industries is a long haul. At the best of speed, if you want to start hydrocarbon production, you need a minimum of between 3 to 4 years to go through the whole long cycle. So if you put money to pay, it therefore means that you can only start paying this money when you start producing the hydrocarbon. And that could come in the 4, 5, 6 years, particularly for a greenfield project. Capital today, they want to invest today and get the benefit tomorrow. The consequence of that is that nobody wants to prioritize his capital to come and support oil and gas production. But beyond that, we have also seen, advocated by BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard Capital, investment discrimination against the fossil fuel. The consequence of that is that we don't have enough investment, we don't have enough funding, and what we are seeing is that we're only producing from the investment we have made in the past. And that decision is certainly going to lead to a very, very short supply of fossil fuel for tomorrow. And that means it's going to create significant disruption. And that disruption also presents an opportunity for industry like ours. In the next slide, I try to show what exactly do this industry need to do. After COP26 in Glasgow, everybody realized that the best way to go is to continue to do the ESG. Focus on your environment, focus on the social, and focus on your governance. The combination of what they call the ESG framework will help in addressing the impact of the energy emission. And so, post Glasgow, everybody has come to say that, hey, net zero is a dream. It can never happen. Sorry, zero carbon is a dream. It can never happen. So we need to go net zero. And to go net zero, everybody has now redefined energy transition to mean going for clean, affordable, and reliable supply of energy. It doesn't matter whether it's fossil fuel. It doesn't matter whether it's gas or oil, but it must be clean. So the question now, technology comes in. And because technology comes in, how do you have a clean fossil fuel? And we can talk about that. A lot of us are experts in that. We do recognize, however, that even without doing anything, by virtue of natural gas, it has a very, very low emission. And that on its own, it can stand the test of every scrutiny. As a matter of fact, the European Union has now recognized gas as a very low carbon intensive, similar to nuclear. So that is the key point. And I want PENGASSAN to note that in whatever we do today, ESG has come to stay. That's the second point I want us to go. Can we go to the next slide? And then we can see what Nigeria is doing. Remember at the Glasgow, we did say Nigeria were going to achieve net zero by 2060. Many of us are asking, how can we achieve that? And the roadmap is very clear. We know today we are suffering significant deficiency in energy, in all kinds of energy, be it electricity, be it oil, be it whatever. So the key priority for us is how do we eliminate this deficiency and eliminate energy poverty. And we believe by 2026, we should be able to achieve that energy independence, that level of self-sufficiency. And if we can do that, then we can begin to see the kind of prosperity that we're looking for and ultimately achieve our net zero by 2060. This is the target, and every one of us is expected to do what you need to do. My colleagues in NAPIMS put together what they call the 5 R's. And most of them are PENGASSAN members, and the 5 R's mean that this is the way our oil and gas industry should be able to play its own role toward achieving the 2060 target. We must reduce emission. If we can kill the player, we'll have taken significant component of carbon emission. If we can replace our fuel, can we move from diesel that we are using in our operations to gas? That will take away a lot of emission. Can we replace some of our new equipment? I mean, some of the old equipment that are very inefficient to new ones. We also talk about renewing our activity and the way we do things in our new project. We're in building a kind of net zero balance. We're also rebranding. And we are rebranding this country, we are rebranding this company, we are rebranding this industry. We used to be called oil industry. Now we are not oil industry, we are gas industry, we are energy industry. And we don't talk about associated gas, we talk about associated oil, because all activities is geared toward producing the gas, which is what we have much more than oil. And because we are going out deliberately to produce gas, and by virtue of our geology, the associated nature of oil and gas, in a decent ratio, it will come with the liquid. So our focus now is how do you manage the liquid? Liquid management become an integral part of our framework. Just like we used to think about how do we deal with associated gas, well now the rebranding is to focus on associated oil or associated liquid. And this is basically what we are doing in the industry, and I think PENGASSAN should take note that this will become more and more in our project and as we move into that. And that brought me to the level where are we talking about the future leaders. What exactly do we seek to achieve? For members that are currently seated here and a lot of the PENGASSAN worldwide, the president painted a picture that indeed looked like the industry is not making progress or is going to be in extinction. I dare say that that's not what I see, but in order for us to be able to remain relevant, there are certain basic things that we need to do regarding our future. And to that I said, our future is challenged, and those challenges are going to be looked upon and see how we can take advantage of addressing those challenges. A lot of us today, we are very low in media literacy. A lot of us today are low in IT literacy, technology deployment. We are still old school, and that cannot work. What is required today, as we see, are certain soft skills, problem solving, critical thinking, communication, etc., etc. These are areas that pose a lot of challenges. If you go to the next slide, I will try to share with you what I think we should do as PENGASSAN, and then that will form the basis under which we can have a lot of discussion. I have a concentric, something that looks like a cycle. At the core of it, you see we are now seated where we are seated, very comfortable, in our comfort zone. But I tell you, this comfort zone will not last. And in the next 2 to 3 years, we're not talking about 10 years, there is going to be significant disruption in this industry. And therefore, we must get ready. And to get ready, we must come out of this industry, out of this comfort zone, and focus and deal with our fear. I do recognize that we are so scared, but if we continue to be scared, we will never make progress. So we have to come into the fear zone and confront the fear heads on. Once we do that, and with the combination of learning, we find out that these fears does not even arise. We can actually deal with it. And eventually, when we learn and relearn new things, we start to build confidence and competence. As we get this competence and confidence, we now see the trajectory of growth. And when you come out into this growth, you will realize that all the fear we have, that this industry is going to extinct, will not happen. But rather, the way and manner we operate will change. And because we have prepared ourselves and we are now in the growth trajectory, we can make significant progress. And how do we achieve that? I think to achieve that is to be able to acquire some of the skills that I have mentioned, leadership skill, problem solving, trying to do a lot of things around business development, around media literacy, IT literacy, and so on and so forth. Let me just rush to say that the future starts today, and because the future starts today, we need to create it. When you talk about future, future is not tomorrow. No, future is today, because what you create is what is going to get. And for us to be able to do that, we need to understand what does tomorrow hold for all of us. There's a lot of debate about what's the color of tomorrow. There are two broad schools of thought. Some will always think that the world, because it moves around, you never know what is going to show. Is it going to show the color of green or the color of blue? They may be asking why color of green and blue. Green is something to do with the energy transition, while blue is basically an acceptable color coding for technology. So the question that PENGASSAN should continue to ask, what is going to be the color of tomorrow? Is it going to be blue or green? I was going to pose a question, but there's no point to say that because the time is now spent. The world is going to be driven more by technology than by the energy transition idealism. And because it's going to be driven by technology, therefore what we require, we need significant innovation and technology appreciation. And if we have to innovate, it means we have to disrupt. It means we have to deploy this a manner in which we can do our work. And therefore, PENGASSAN has no option. Every PENGASSAN member has no option than not only to buy his ticket, but make sure that he gets his boarding pass into the future. If you don't have your boarding pass, guys, the plane will not wait for you, and you'll be left irrelevant, and you'll never play the future. So it's important that we acquire that. To be able to acquire that, PENGASSAN workers, in my view, you will need to do a couple of things. And one of the things that you do to secure your place is to innovate yourself, recreate yourself, make sure that you understand technology, make sure you know how to do networking, make sure you understand that no one of us can achieve alone, and therefore collaboration becomes very, very essential. And that is one of the things that we should do. And to be able to do that, we must take personal responsibility. We always say, nobody will force you to learn. Learning is voluntary. But as you learn, you also become more competent. As you become competent, you become confident. And confidence will give you courage to do whatever you want to do with comfort and vision. And it's therefore important that we take personal responsibility to learning and development. No one can help you. Your companies can try to do whatever they need, but no knowledge is given to you on the platter of gold. You must grab it. And I ask PENGASSAN that not only grab enjoyment now, but also grab knowledge. And so this is the only way we can deal with change. And so can we ask ourselves whether we are there? What exactly do we need to do? In whatever we do, guys, you must make yourself to be trusted. Trust is very, very important. And trust can come in terms of my trusting on your competency, trusting on your courage, trusting on your judgment, trusting on your integrity, and several other things. So these are things that you must have to happen. And I think without further ado, I will just say that please let's know that the combination of innovation, technology, and expertise with trust, you will have secured your future into the global energy future leaders of tomorrow. So I'll just stop here and say thank you very much.
Thank you very much, our lead panelist, Dr. Balawanti. That was a broad overview. A couple of things to learn from that, we see from that is one, coal never hesitated. That means whatever happens, there are some peculiarities. How to balance between energy security and energy transition. To be able to produce energy that will meet the market demand as we continue to strive forward. And for Nigeria specifically, to end energy poverty. But the biggest of the questions is, as PENGASSAN members seated here, what do we need to do so that we remain relevant in the future? A couple of things have been said and been done. Nigeria has an energy transition plan that states that in 2030 we plan to end energy poverty. In 2060, we plan to go net zero. And in achieving all this, we want to demonstrate significant reduction in emission and also to increase significantly job creation. Now, I want to talk to our HR expert. One of the most important things we know has always been human capital, knowledge, like our lead panelist has said. What are those specific skills we need to acquire? What are those things we need to do today to position ourselves as oil workers, as PENGASSAN members, as people in the oil and gas, so that we don't remain obsolete come some decades, the next 1 or 2 decades? What are those skills we need as personnel?
Thank you very much. Standing on existing protocol, I think I'll rather look at the opportunities we have for the future rather than look at the energy transition as something that is going to take away our jobs. Because the study says that between now and 2050, about 78 million jobs will be created by energy transition. So first of all, there's something our lead panelists talked about, which is going away from moving on to net zero. Net zero means you have a portfolio that is going from red to yellow. So you go everything from fossil fuel to electricity to gas to solar and all forms of renewable energy. And what that means is that it's going to create opportunities. You know, rather than take away our jobs, let's look at it as creating opportunities. So coming down to what skills will be required in the future. Some skills and some ways of thinking have been enumerated by lead panelists. And I want to reiterate that technology is going to be so important. Innovation is going to be so important. Entrepreneurship is going to be so important. The reason is, if you look at all the forms of energy we have, it's only fossil fuel that really requires the level of capital that you need to run. Most of the others you can actually run as SMEs. You know, you can actually produce as SMEs. You don't really need big corporations to produce them. So if you look at the portfolio, you really don't need big corporations. So it means that we will be looking at skills like sustainable energy. You'll be looking at skills like bioenergy. You'll be, the traditional engineering skills will still be there, but we have to learn new ways. We have to learn research, and we have to apply those skills differently. So I think it's really looking at applying those skills differently. When you talk of carbon footprint reduction, it's not the people studying history that are going to do it. It's the chemical engineers. It's the scientists. The same basic education you have. But the way you will have to apply it in the future is what is going to be different, which means that you must be people who are ready to think critically, have critical thinking. You must be open to learning. You must be open to learning new skills and getting rid of old skills. So it's really taking the foundation you have and moving forward to the future with that foundation. As you look at net zero and you look at the future of energy, you are going to have some skills that today have been limited to maybe food production like agric. But when you talk of bioenergy, that energy is going to come from plants, it's going to come from farms. It means that we're going to have bigger, more industrial farms that will not only produce food, but produce energy. So it means that agric will become a relevant skill. Now, when you look at the energy mix as well, you will find that today we have energy poverty in Nigeria. What does it mean? By the time we begin to produce this energy, we're going to look at the legal framework, the marketing framework. So all this array of skills, the way they are applied will then be different. Because how will you distribute the energy? How will you market it? How will you price it? So you see that today we are pricing this energy this way. Tomorrow we're going to have a new energy and we have to price it differently. So I come back to what I'm saying, that the basic education you need is the same, but the skills you are going to develop with that education will differ. Because even if you look at the commercial aspects of what we're talking about, it will be different. The legal framework, the kind of specializations in law that will be required for the ESG is not what we need today. So maybe today they are writing contracts. Tomorrow you are going to be looking at energy. You are going to look at impact on society. You are going to look at claims. How will they be managed? How do you address them? So then you will look at another area, which is communication. People are so important. Anything you cannot communicate doesn't make any impact on people. So even these skills about communication, awareness, all those things, the skills are there, the education is there, but the way they will be applied will be different. So innovation is going to be so key because everything we need is given on earth already. But how are we going to use it? That's what brings these skills to the table. Innovation is what creates new area of skills that we have. So innovation thinking is going to be very, very important. So if I may just summarize, it's saying that we do have a foundation. The basic STEM is still there, but the way we are going to apply that knowledge will be different. So we're going to be open to learning how to apply it in the new energy mix. So it means that you do have jobs. The jobs are not going away. More jobs are being created, but you have to be more adventurous in the way you seek specializations, in the way you seek how you want to apply your education, in the way you seek jobs. And you have to be bold. You have to be ready to go to new areas. Don't be afraid. Don't say, oh, it's not like oil and gas. It has big dollars. You will be surprised how much in a country like Nigeria that has so many people, 200 million, and there's no energy you produce, you will not be able to sell in this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We've heard that talk relating to the human capital development area. Technology is going to be so important. The basic educations we have will remain, but we need to develop some skills that will be needed. So nothing is lost. It shouldn't be more of fear, but to see the opportunities going net zero will create. But in this, technology is very important going forward. I would like to turn to a man from the Petroleum Technology Development Fund. Technology-wise, And looking at the Nigerian energy transition plan, what is your take on our readiness in our infrastructure, the technology we have, versus the skills to put Nigeria in a good place for the future?
Okay. First and foremost, I must congratulate Dr. Wunti for the elaborate presentation, of course, as usual. And I congratulate the members of PENGASSAN. What I can tell you, what qualifies us to be here is because we are the agency for capital development in the industry. We are the one that will retrain all of you that are already working. We are the one that will develop those ones that are still in school yet. And energy transition is not going to lead to you losing your jobs. It's just going to generate retraining and retraining and retraining. Dr. Bala has spoken so well. I will tell you one thing that happened about 20 years ago at PTDF. We designed a program, we went to universities. What was the program? We took, in each university, we took an oil and gas relevant department, construct a brand new department, develop their laboratory and workshop, IT, soft and hard and everything. But because of energy transition, to let you know that the hope that is in the future is very, very bright. We have gone back to those universities. Let me just take the first 6 universities. At the University of Ibadan, we took Petroleum Engineering Department. At the University of Nigeria, we took Geology and Mining Department. At Port Harcourt, we took Gas Engineering Department. In Ahmadu Bello University, we took Chemical Engineering. Maiduguri, we took Geology. Jos, we took Geology and Mining. In Sokoto, we took Petroleum Chemistry. In all these areas, we had brand new department. We retrained the teachers. We supply equipment, develop the facility, IT infrastructure, and everything. And we have done 21 universities. Those I mentioned are the first generation. Now, we are going back to those schools in view of the fact that other areas of specialization are emerging because of energy transition. We are going back to sit down with stakeholders in those schools, look at their curriculum again, and redo those departments to fit in to the professions and training that will be needed in view of the transition that is staring at us. And so the future is bright. Maybe you read that at Imperial College, one of the universities we send young Nigerians to, a few years ago, they scrapped their petroleum geoscience department because they were envisaging energy transition. Of course, they developed big data and several things in renewable. And so the jobs that will be created as a result of energy transition might even be more than the ones we have now. So in areas for those of you that are working already, retraining, if you're a mechanical engineer, for instance, it's very easy for us to retrain you to be able to do big data. It's very easy for us to retrain you to be able to do things that are more relevant. And in any case, because of our socio-political situation in this country particularly, gas is green to us. And so many of you that are in traditional core oil areas of specialization, you have a lot of things to do with gas at different levels, up, middle, downstream, because it's green to us and it will remain so for a very long time. And so I hear each time I go to fora like this, a lot of people getting jittery about what will happen to their job. Petroleum engineer getting afraid of what will happen to their career. Your career, I want to assure you, is very, very bright. The PTDF will work with all the agencies in the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources and retrain majority of you, those that are willing to be retrained, and you'll be more relevant in the transition that's ahead of us. Of course, post-PIB, we are looking to play a very pivotal role in being able to harness the training programs of different stakeholders in the industry. As it is now, IOCs are doing their own thing depending on their project priority. Other agencies of government are doing their own thing to fulfill their budgetary allocation. Who is coordinating this? Who is ensuring that this thing will be in compliance with the transition that we're looking for? Who is going to protect the jobs of those of you that are here? who is going to retrain even our elder professionals that are used to their way for years, for 30 years. PTDF will do most of those things, and we are ready for it. We are starting by catching them young. We are going to go back to all those universities and re-equip the place and do many things and retrain the lecturers. And we're going to go back to your different agencies in collaboration with your CEOs to make sure that the issue of retraining every one of you that are working now will not be a difficult problem. So it's going to be bright for all of you. I do not see any reason for fears. I speak on behalf of Dr. Bello Gusso, the Executive Secretary of PTDF. My name is Jide Adebola.
Thank you very much. So gas is green to us, and we have it in abundance. Our careers are bright. The basic training we have is not obsolete, but rather we'll build on it. So the foundation is laid already. PTDF is ready to retrain, equip schools, provide the needed technology to move forward. That's comforting, and if you look at the Nigerian energy transition program, it's reflected on it too. For want of time, I want to hand over to our lead panelists to give us a very short summary of the topic.
Well, I think you have given the good summary, but just 3 points. Oil and gas will be relevant. The world needs it. In the next century, fossil fuel will be relevant. In 2050, actually up to 2075, fossil fuel will contribute more than 50% of the global energy mix. So guys, be confident you have a future. However, that future is going to be different. It's going to be technology-driven. And therefore, innovation, creativity, soft skills, and other things are very, very important for all of us to be workers of today and future leaders. The job of tomorrow is not known today. And the training we are receiving today, we are training ourselves of today, not of tomorrow, and we need to, therefore, to have that. Lastly, we all know that in this organization, there's something that we never compromise. It is called EN square, enjoyment now, now, now. And please, and forever. And so let me just also say that in our quest to implement EN square, we should also complement it with LN square. Learning now, 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 and learning forever. Enjoyment now, 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 and learning now, 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 and forever. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Let's rise for hand of applause for our discussants. That was a good outing. I will hand over.
Okay, please, let's also hold for the group photograph with the president before we go. A round of applause for them one more time, please, as they have a group photograph. Please, let's give them a round of applause. That was greatly done. Thank you. You may be seated. Mr. President, I will want to say we have come to the end of the first session of this program. We are going to take a break. Just 5-10 minutes break, and then we will move straight into the paper presentations. Thank you. While we're getting ready to receive a paper presentation by Austin Olorunshola on energy transition and PIA, its effects on the Nigerian oil and gas workers. Ladies and gentlemen, comrades, please, if you don't have the program of the event, kindly meet with any of the ushers that are standing by, and they will help us do so. Thank you very much. We have not come to the end of the event. Please don't go. The summit continues in the next 5 minutes. Can we have the musical interlude, please? Thank you.
This is Channels Television, and that's all we can